Jeff's Superscript is brought to you by Black Cat Comics and Collectibles, in my opinion, the best comic shop and clubhouse on the internet. Follow them at Black Cat Burbank on Instagram and join their claim sales on Tuesdays for new books and Fridays for back issues. And don't forget to ask about joining their Stray Cats Club for special perks.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and welcome to another one of my videos where I take a look at all the new comic books coming out on either April 6th or 7th, 2021, and I ask myself the question, what one new comic book would I buy this week if I could buy just one book? Now this is a really big week with a lot of great comics, so I want to get into it and through it as quickly as possible, but first, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, I really like likes and appreciate them very much. All right, let's start off by taking a look at my pick from 2 weeks ago, which was Teen Titans Academy #1. And the question is, was it a worthy book to be my just one book pick of the week? And the answer is no. No, it really didn't have much going on for it. It really are putting a lot of their eggs in the Who is Red X basket. And for me, it just didn't really do much for me. They really didn't give me any more information. They didn't really get me excited about the title at all. A lot of the first appearances, I believe, were already in Future State Teen Titans 1. So all in all, the issue in and of itself really didn't have much going on for it for me. So no, it was not a great pick for me that week. You can't win them all, right? But I tried. Anyways, let's go ahead and move forward by taking a look at this week's books. First, by taking a look at my cover pick for this week, and similar to last week, or exactly the same as last week, I don't have one. There was no book this week, as with last week, that kind of jumped out at me, that made me go, whoa, this cover art is amazing. And when that happens, I don't make a pick. I'm not going to pick a cover just for the sake of picking a cover. So like I said, since none of them really stood out to me, I don't have a pick for this week. All right, let's go ahead and move through the list of comic books that I want to feature, that I want to put a little bit of spotlight on this week. As always, I use League of Comic Geeks to source information about these books. League of Comic Geeks presents their books from the most pulled book, or the most popular one, to the least pulled book, or the least popular one. I will be presenting this list from the least popular or least pulled book all the way up to the most popular one. A lot of these books, man, I gotta move through them quickly, so I'm gonna read you part of the description if I can keep it short, and I'm probably not gonna comment very much on a lot of these books. I'm just gonna move through them, present them to you for your information. You can decide for yourself if it sounds interesting to you. The first book I want to mention is a book called Strange Attractors. It's from a company called It's Alive. The description reads, "The return of indie comic book sensation Strange Attractors. Sophie, curator of a futuristic museum, is caught up in an adventure involving science, magic, mathematics, and comic books. Sophie finds a mysterious medallion and meets Mason, both of which will change her life forever." All right. There's the first one I want to mention this week. The next one, I'm going to have to read this one in an action movie voice because it's just begging for it. The book is Chess #1 from Second Sight Publishing. Here we go. Missions by no rules. Second Sight Comics introduces you to chess. When hard decisions need to be made, Avery Davis makes them by putting together an under-the-radar strike team to take on missions that need a personal touch. Avery sends chess team to investigate businessman Nakati after hearing about his crooked actions from an inside source. It's probably as as silly as that voice that I just used to read that description, but maybe you might be interested in checking it out. This next one is Blowtorch #1 from Second Sight Publishing. It says, from the pages of Chess, which we just talked about, Blowtorch takes a personal mission to save the woman he was once in love with, and maybe still is, from an out-of-control government experiment. Boy, these books sound so cliche, but maybe you're interested in something cliche this week. The next one I want to mention is Freak Show Night #1 from Second Sight Publishing as well. It says, during his time in prison, Red was surrounded by the worst types of people, thieves, rapists, and murderers. Now, on the outside, he's surrounded by the living dead. Armed with the only thing he's ever known, violence, Red finds one last chance at redemption for a lifetime of sin. This one sounds a little bit more interesting to me if you're looking for a zombie kind of redemption tale from Second Sight Publishing. Check out that one. The next one I want to mention to you is Duplicate #1 from Second Sight Publishing. And although this description is a little bit long, it is the most interesting of these Second Sight books, so I'm going to read the whole thing to you. Duplicate is a thriller about the forces conspiring against the one man who offers hope during a pandemic. That man is Matt Travers, a scientist who creates duplicate organs that saves humanity from the organ failure contagion. Only their high cost forces people into indentured servitude. In answer to this, a dangerous black market arises, which is run by a religious fanatic and Matt's former mentor. Following Matt's life-changing encounter with a duplicate, recipient of his technology, he comes to question everything he knows as he strives to learn the truth behind his encounter. This one sounds kind of sort of interesting. You might want to consider checking it out. The next book I want to mention to you is Bloom #1 from Hero Tomorrow Comics. The year is 1969. Ramsey is an aspiring comic book artist who's trying to find inspiration for his femme fatale. When he meets wild dancer Regina at a street fair, he invites her into the woods for a character photo shoot where she begins to break on through to the other side. Witness the psychedelic origin of the most powerful character in the Hero Tomorrow Comics universe, a mind-bending 4-issue journey to reshape your reality. All right, enough said. The next book I want to mention to you is a book called Death by Life #1 from Antarctic Press. Here's the description. The long angelic wars are over, but Death has been allowed to keep his powers to do his job, though under the watchful eye of the Archangel Meridia. However, with empathy and other moral values at an all-time low, Death finds himself actually bored and fed up with his work. Then an event occurs that causes Death to feel something new to him, the touch of the living. The ramifications could strike at the very foundations of existence. Interesting. I find this one interesting. I had to bring it up to you. The next one is The Rise #1 from Heavy Metal. It says, the film Night of the Living Dead changed popular culture forever. And now George C. Romero, the son of legendary film director George A. Romero, tells the story before The Worst Night on Earth. Learn about the death, destruction, and tragedy that led to the birth of the modern zombie in this prequel horror saga to the most significant and influential horror film franchise in history. Now this is interesting. A little kind of prequel to Night of the Living Dead. I bet if you're a zombie fan, you're going to want to check that one out. The next one I want to mention to you is Beasts of Burden, Occupied Territory #1 from Dark Horse Comics. This is interesting. The 8-time Eisner Award-winning comic book series blending fantasy and humor returns in a historical adventure blending Japanese and Western occult. An elder member of the occult-battling pack of wise dogs recalls a harrowing mission in the U.S.-occupied Japan after World War II. A mysterious curse creates an army of crawling disembodied heads which threatens to overwhelm the region. Emery's and a team of canine companions attempt to solve the mystery, bringing them into conflict with shape-changing tanuki, evil oni, and a horde of vengeful demons. Okay, so it's a fantasy horror mashup book. If it's well done, it could be really fun and really entertaining. If a horror fantasy kind of with humor sounds interesting to you, this will be the book for you to check out. The next one I want to mention to you is a book called Project Patron, #1 from Aftershock Comics. Here's the description. 30 years ago, the world watched us in horror as the Patron, a hero sent as humanitarian aid from a different dimension, went punch for punch with Woe, a primordial beast and perfect match for our mighty protector. In the end, hero and villain alike fell, but the Patron returned and continues to defend us to this day. At least that's what we've been told. The truth is, the Patron died that day along with Woe. The UN replaced the Patron with a Reploid designed to mimic the real Patron and continue on his mission of protection. Today, the Patron Reploid is secretly piloted by an elite team, a team prepared for anything except for the death of one of their own. Once again, there's a lot of books that sound kind of interesting to you. If anything about these descriptions is piquing your interest, you might want to check it out. I say that a lot, but you might want to. The next book I want to mention to you is The Resistance Uprising #1. This one I'm not going to read the description to you because basically if you liked The Resistance, you're going to want to read this as well. I read The Resistance #1, the free comic book day version of it. I thought it was really good, really interesting. I didn't jump on board Resistance after that, and I'm not going to jump on board The Resistance now because I'm like, I've said this a million times, I'm trying to not pick up new books if I can at all say no. So I'm going to say no to this, but it does seem like it might be good. So if you're interested in checking out something new this week, this might be one for you. The next book I want to mention to you is Locust #1 from Scout Comics. It says, most of humanity has fallen victim to a terrible plague that has turned them into giant locusts. As the locusts consume the earth, the uninfected survivors struggle to stay alive. During the Great Transformation, a fisherman and his elderly mother try to escape a decimated New York City. Can they survive? Probably, or else you probably don't have much of a comic book. So, could be interesting. The next one I want to mention to you is The Chimerian, Iron Shadows in the Moon #1. It is a really long description. I'm not going to read a sentence of it. All I'm going to say is that if you like Conan and you want your Conan uncensored, then this is the book for you. The next book I want to mention is Nottingham #2. It says, a murder at the heart of the castle shakes Nottingham to its core as the sheriff and the captain of the guard scramble to root out a traitor in their midst. More of Eve's dark and tragic past is revealed. More important than anything, I mentioned Nottingham #1, and apparently, as soon as Nottingham #1 came out, it blew up. It did really well on the secondary market and raised in value. People, for some reason, were really excited and interested in Nottingham #1, which is why I wanted to point out Nottingham #2 to you this week. The next book I want to mention to you is The Last Witch #4. I like to tell you the books that I'm reading and the books that I'm interested in, the books that are on my pull. This is one of those. If you haven't been picking up issue 1, 2, and 3, you're not going to care about issue #4. But if you are picking them up, and you might be interested that issue #4 is coming out this week. And it's good, by the way. I would recommend you probably could go and pick up the whole thing, for cover price if you were interested still in checking it out. The next one I want to mention to you is Tankers #1 from Bad Idea Comics. It's a really long description, but you know what? Once again, I'm not going to read the description because the description for this book doesn't matter. What matters is that this is from Bad Idea Comics. Bad Idea Comics has brought you, I believe it's Hero Trade, and most recently they brought you ENIAC. ENIAC was the book that they put out like 2,500 of them. They only sent them to select retailers, and they have all their rules about like you got to sell it for cover price for the first 30 days, and all this different stuff. Bad Idea Comics seems to be shaking things up in the comic book industry. They seem to be doing things that make books heat up a lot on the secondary market. It wouldn't be a bad idea that if you see this book on the shelf, or if you have the opportunity to grab this book, just to scoop it up. If you can get it for cover price, things are going on with this company, so it's worth at least noting that a new book from Bad Idea is coming out this week. The next book I want to mention to you is Magic: The Gathering #1 from Boom Studios. I'm also not going to read a description for this one. What I am going to say is that if you're a fan of Magic: The Gathering, you probably are going to be very interested in this comic book. If you're not a fan, I mean, maybe there's some spec potential there. I don't think this is the first Magic: The Gathering book that ever existed. I think a different publisher had it, and now Boom has it. Boom will probably do it better than other people did in the past. So maybe there'll be some first appearances in there that are worth picking up. If the Magic, the Magic game is definitely very popular. If it ever became something more in media, like a film or television show, people will go back to their first appearances in comic books for value on the secondary comic book market. So this might be one worth picking up for that reason as well. Or maybe you just want to know about magic, more about the world of magic, and this might be a good opportunity to get that information. All good reasons to pick up this book this week. The next book I want to mention to you is Origins number 6. This is another one that's on my poll. This is another one, the book that I'm mentioning because I like it. It's been a really kind of cool, neat little story. This is the final issue, and I'm interested to see how it is going to wrap up. The next book I want to mention to you is Fear Case number 3. Once again, this is a Jeff pick. This is a book that I'm reading that I'm enjoying. I've really enjoyed issues number 1 and 2. It's got a definite, I've mentioned this before, Department of Truth vibe that I like a lot, but it's its own thing. Definitely its own thing. And I'm enjoying kind of the mystery of the story. I almost like the fact that in some ways there's gore in it. It kind of brings the stakes up for me. It's not gratuitous. It just makes the stakes really high for the danger of this case and finding this case and how important it is and all this stuff. So I've really been enjoying everything about Fear Case, top to bottom. If you have the opportunity to still pick up issues number 1 and 2, I absolutely would. And absolutely, of course, then picking up issue number 3 this week as well. The next book I want to mention to you is The Silver Coin number 1 from Image Comics. Here's the description. Eisner-winning artist Michael Walsh teams with an all-star lineup of collaborators, Chip Zdarsky, Kelly Thompson, Ed Brisson, and Jeff Lemire, on a new horror anthology miniseries for mature readers. Each issue will tell a tale of terror in a shared supernatural world. The story starts in 1978 with a failing rock band whose fortune suddenly changes when they find the mysterious silver coin. Little do they know that fame comes with a cost, and a curse is always hungry. I am not a big fan of horror anthology series in general. I like ongoing series. However, what I do like about anthology series and horror anthology series is that when they are done well, they can be really great content for short stories. And when you have the name Chip Zdarsky writing this first one, I am very, very interested. So I am basically excited about this book because I'm not treating it necessarily as a comic book, although it is a comic book and I like comic books. I'm not necessarily treating it with spec potential, although it is an issue number 1 of a new title. And if for some reason this story or this world that they're creating here ever becomes something else, I mean, this will be the one to spec on. Now, I am picking up this book because it seems like it could be a fun and interesting and exciting short story read. And for that reason, that's why I am picking it up this week. But for all of those reasons might be reasons that you might consider picking it up this week. This is one that I give extra special attention to you all this week to consider picking up. The next book I want to mention to you is Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures number 3. I'm not going to read the description. People are sleeping on Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures. Not only is it just as legitimate in its spec potential as the Marvel series without the word adventures in it, it's good too. It's a good read. It's really entertaining. If you like Star Wars, you should like this. I'm surprised that this book isn't higher on the list, but people are kind of like, it's the IDW title, it's the All Ages title, it's the Adventures one, I'm not so interested. But I don't understand that because it's good, and if you like Star Wars, it's good, and its spec potential is good as well. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm missing something, or maybe everyone else is. Only time will tell. The next book I want to mention to you is Seven Secrets number 7 from Boom Studios. The description really quickly says another case has been opened, and with it, a new path revealed. Casper and the remaining members of the Order have managed to escape to the world of Fairy, but are they truly safe? I've liked Seven Secrets, then I was kind of like, what's going on here? And then I started liking it again. So now it's back firmly into the I like it category. And I'm interested to see where the story is going. And frankly, if I wrote a book called Seven Secrets, I would put something special in issue number 7. That's just me. So there is this. I would maybe open this book up and flip through it, or maybe keep an eye and an ear out for what might be going on in this book, because like I said, I would absolutely put something special in issue number 7 of Seven Secrets. So remains to be seen if other people have that inclination, the same inclination, the writers I should say have the same inclination that I do. The next book I want to mention to you is Green Lantern #1 from DC Comics. Not going to read the description, but I am going to say I'm a big Green Lantern fan. I like the Green Lantern so much. I like the Green Lantern Corps so much. Something about this title, though, is completely not interesting to me. I don't know what it is. I read the description in my FOC video. I'll put it up here if you want to check out the description and some other information about the FOC from the FOC video that I made for this week. But it's just, the description of it just was just kind of like, I want there to be a Green Lantern story that I'm just like, oh yeah, this sounds awesome, and this one I'm just kind of like, pass. But I'm going to keep my eyes and ears open on this one and see if maybe all of a sudden everybody's like, oh my gosh, something amazing happened in that first new Green Lantern, because I really would like something amazing to happen in Green Lantern, because like I said, I'm a fan. I just don't see it happening with this book right now, unfortunately. The next book I want to mention to you is The Next Batman, Second Son, #1. I am not going to read the description, but basically I'm going to say that this is a backstory, an origin story on, what's his name? Tim Fox as Batman. In Future State, The Next Batman, we basically got a story of Tim Fox as the next Batman. He was fully fledged, the next Batman. We didn't really get any information about how that happened. Well, The Next Batman, Second Son, #1, I think it's a limited series. But regardless, it is going to give you that backstory that we did not get in the Future State Next Batman story. So if you're interested in more information on Tim Fox Batman, this is the book for you. The next book I want to mention to you is Far Sector #11. This is from Young Animal, at DC. I've mentioned this book every time it comes out because I'm a fan. I think it's really good. As I just mentioned, I'm also a Green Lantern fan, and this is a Green Lantern book that I am excited about, that I am really enjoying. Issue number 11 is the second to last issue of it. It was always going to be just 12 issues, and issue 11, once again, is the second to last issue of it. So I'm excited to read it and to see what's going to happen as this story is coming to a close. If you're able to, I still recommend picking up all of these. Issue number 1 is still the first appearance of this Green Lantern character. It still can be found for relatively inexpensive. If you can find it for not too expensive, I would absolutely recommend picking up issue number 1 and just also going ahead and picking up every other issue, because it has been an enjoyable read. The next book I want to mention to you is Geiger #1. Here's the description. I got to read this one. Industry heavyweights Geoff Johns and Gary Frank of DC's Doomsday Clock reteam for what will be one of the most anticipated new series of 2021 in the forthcoming Geiger. This mind-blowing new series will take local comic shops by storm in April from Image Comics. All right. Who are the scavengers of a dying Earth? Geiger is set in the years since a nuclear war ravaged the planet. Desperate outlaws battle for survival in a world of radioactive chaos. Out past the poisoned wasteland lives a man even the Nightcrawlers and Organ people fear. Some name him Joe Glow, others call him the Meltdown Man, but his name is Geiger. This is a book, now you say Jeff Johns and Gary Frank, and it's like, okay, all right, tell me more. But when I first read the description, I was like, no, this is a pass for me. I'm not interested. But the more I think about it, the more I think this book is either going to be really, really good and really, really cool, or really, really bad and really, really unfortunate. So I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going to go ahead, and I decided at the last minute, last night, as I was preparing for this video, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to buy issue number 1. And I'm going to check it out. Do I have a lot of optimism for it? No. But like I said, just in case it falls into the really, really cool and really, really good category, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to spend the $4 and I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to hope for the best. You might want to consider doing that as well. The next book I want to mention to you, we're going to get into the top 10 here. This is a thing I like to do here where I like to mention the top 10 most popular books here on League of Comic Geeks. The first one I want to mention to you is Nocterra number 2 from Image Comics. Nocterra number 1 was really good. I liked it. I wholeheartedly recommend finding Nocterra number 1 if you can, because I think that's a book that is just going to continue to get more and more valuable. And in the meantime, pick up issue number 2 coming out this week. The next one I want to mention in the 9th spot is Star Wars The High Republic number 4. Once again, similar to when I talked about the High Republic Adventures, it's Star Wars, it's good, it's got spec potential, it's worth checking out. You might, if you're not already on board though, you probably don't care. But if you are on board, just so you know, issue number 4 comes out this week. In the 8th spot, we have Excalibur number 20. The description says, The Phantom Menace. An invisible threat is loose on the island of Krakoa, unseen, unheard, undetectable by any except Excalibur. And that's it. That's all it says. So you might want to check it out. It's in the 8th spot. In the 7th spot is my pick this week. We'll get back to it. In the 6th spot is Marauders number 19. The description said, A pirate's life for good. As the pressure pours on in Madripoor, the Marauders prepare to pillage and plunder as a proper pirate pleases. Actually, I got through that pretty well with all those P's. I don't know if the Marauders book is as silly as they're making it sound, but it sounds pretty silly. But maybe it's worth checking out. Like I said, it is number 6 in the top 10 for this week. In the 5th spot, we have The Avengers number 44 from Marvel Comics. This is the end of the Enter the Phoenix storyline. This could very well have been my pick for this week. I have been interested and excited in this storyline. As you know from the beginning, I was not reading The Avengers before this storyline started. I probably won't keep reading The Avengers after this storyline ends. But this is the end of the storyline. We're going to see who wins this Phoenix tournament, who ends up being chosen by the Phoenix to have the Phoenix Force, and will they keep it, will they use it, and what will it mean for that character moving forward. I'm absolutely interested and excited in checking this out. You might consider, this is definitely one that if you see it on the shelf, you might flip it open, go ahead and spoil it for yourself, see who the Phoenix Force has chosen. If you're like, that sounds kind of cool, I'm interested in that. If it seems like it's going to stick past the final page of this issue, you might want to pick it up for its spec potential. In the 4th spot, we have The Immortal Hulk number 45. The Hulk has had better days. He's not looking so good. We are getting towards the end of the Immortal Hulk run. Might be a story for you to check out. In the 3rd spot of the top 3, we have Venom number 34. Now this is an interesting one to me. What's particularly interesting about this one is that Ryan Stegman is not doing the art on this issue. He is back for issue number 35 that comes out next month, which is the last one he and Donny Cates are doing. So what I imagine, and it's also double-sized. So what I imagine is that Ryan Stegman needed to take a break from issue number 34 so that he could do the work that he needed to do on issue number 35 in time to have that completed. What that also leads me to believe is that although Venom number 34 might be a cool book to check out, it's probably not going to be of significance, because I would think that if there was going to be anything of significance in there, Ryan Stegman would want to have his pencils involved in it. So it might be a cool story, but I think basically all it's going to do is tee up the events of what should be exciting in issue number 35, or Legacy 200, coming out next month. That's going to be one to check out. In the second spot of the top 10, we have The Amazing Spider-Man number 63. I've been checking out The Amazing Spider-Man, and I could care less about it. The Amazing Spider-Man number 63 will be the last issue of The Amazing Spider-Man that I personally will be picking up until, I don't know, something new takes place in it. I've talked about this in the past. Maybe something like Donny Cates writing The Amazing Spider-Man. That would get me, and I think a lot of people, back and interested in checking out The Amazing Spider-Man. But I know me and a few of you are dropping The Amazing Spider-Man either soon, now, or already. And the most popular book on League of Comic Geeks this week is Batman 107 from DC Comics. My boy James Tynion IV is killing it in Batman, and this story with Scarecrow, the design and the look of Scarecrow is so cool. This is a story that I think is going to be definitely worth checking out. Frankly, I think that if you aren't reading Batman at this point, you're just not a Batman fan, and that's fine. If you're not a Batman fan and you just could have no interest in Batman, then, you know, more power to you. But if you're a Batman fan and you're not reading Batman right now, get off your butt and go and start reading Batman immediately, because James Tynion is doing really cool stuff, and it's definitely worth checking out. Okay, that brings us to my pick this week. Of the one book that I would pick this week, if I could buy just one book. If I could buy just one book this week, that book would be King in Black number 5 from Marvel Comics. Let me read the description. It says, "What's a god to a non-believer?" That's it. That's the description. Those of you that watch my videos week after week, and I appreciate all of you so much, the 45 or so of you that watch my videos every week, thank you so much. I appreciate your commitment to this content. All of you know that I have picked King in Black. I think this is the third time. I think I picked issues number 1. I think I also picked issue number 2 or 3, and now I've picked issue number 5. And I don't regret that. I've really been enjoying this King in Black storyline. As far as the King in Black tie-ins are concerned, a lot of the tie-ins that I've been reading, like, nobody's talking about what's going on in the tie-ins, really. The tie-ins that I've read, I've been like, okay, well, some of them are just completely worthless. Some of them are interesting, related stories. But in general, the heat, what's been best about this whole null occupation of the planet Earth has all been in this main 5-part King in Black series. There have been some exciting moments. There have been some really cool and some heartbreak and some awesomeness and some kick-assness. All of these things that I really like in comics. It's some of the writing is some of what Donny Cates just does best, which he gives me these really cool stories and these really cool moments, these whoa moments and these oh yeah moments and these oh no moments that keep me going back to his books and that get me excited to read his books. And this is the final part of this main King in Black storyline. And basically, like, I mentioned this before, I think this King in Black storyline, this side series, you know, this 5-part series that I'm talking about this week, happened because Donny Cates had pitched a story for Venom, for his Venom title, but the story was frankly just too big for just the Venom title. And I think the Marvel went all in on it. I think it was smart to go all in on it and basically say, no, we can't just have this null story affect just Venom and the Venom title. It will affect the entire Marvel universe. So let's also do this King in Black storyline and let's have all these tie-ins, huh? We love tie-ins. Well, like I said, I don't know that the tie-ins were so great, but I think they were necessary. But this King in Black series, I think, was necessary. I think that you needed the story to take place outside of the pages of just Venom. So you have this special series, and it's been really good, guys. It's been really, really good. And I think that, I mean, what's going to happen? How are they going to defeat Null? What is going to be the fallout of defeating Null? If I know Donny Cates at all, it's not just going to be like somebody's going to punch Null in the face and he's going to be like, why'd you do that? I'm out of here. And then it's just going to be end of story. There's going to be there's already been sacrifice, but there's going to be potentially more sacrifice, more change, more moments of significance. And I think they're going to take place in this book. And you might be thinking to yourself, Jeff, but you know, Venom 35 is coming next month. Don't you think that those significant things are going to happen there? Possibly. Very possibly. But they're going to be motivated by what happened with this Null encounter, and that is being wrapped up here in this issue number 5. So, you know, my gut has told me the whole time that this King in Black story, this 5-part story, was going to be good, and my gut hasn't been wrong on that. I have really been enjoying this. So not only do I think that this issue number 5 will be good and entertaining and exciting in all of the typical Donny Cates fashion, I think it also might end up having some level of significance in the lives of at least 1 or 2 Marvel Comics characters. Looking at you, Dylan Brock. At least I'm kind of sort of hoping. Those of you who watch all my videos know that I spec'd on buying Venom, a 9.8 copy of Venom number 9 for the first appearance of Dylan Brock, because I think that he's so important to this storyline that something coming out of this is going to be significant with him moving forward. And I think that that might happen in this book. But we'll find out soon enough in just a few short days. And so basically all of my excitement for the story and for the spec potential and all my kind of like personal investment in this story, all of these reasons are the reasons why I'm most excited to read this book this week. And that is why I have made King in Black number 5 my pick to be my just one book pick for this week. All right, so there it is. God knows how long this video was. I tried to move through it as quickly as I possibly could. As always, if you appreciate this content, if you appreciate me going through all of these books for you, this is yet another opportunity for you to go ahead and hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, this is my invitation to you to please subscribe. A fun way to do it is to hit the subscribe guy right here. And make sure you hit that notification bell so you're informed when I put out other new content like my Test Your Comic Book Grading Skills videos. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one.